You're listening to Crystal and Emily on Love Your Shelf, the best librarian podcast in the extensive and highly competitive field of librarian podcasts. Hello.
Oh, hello.
Welcome to Love Your Shelf, episode 3.5. It's Crystal here with Emily, as usual.
Oh, hey.
We kind of forget to say that
I
most
know.
of the time. Just random voices coming at you from the ether.
Well, and I'm noticing, I think I always giggle right after we say hi and you start saying welcome and I don't know. I'm not great with formalities. I think it makes me feel funny, so.
Right, I know.
I've noticed.
and I, whenever I say welcome or something like that, I have to
yes.
do the big eye production.
Yeah, no, it can't be serious.
You can't just be like, yeah. Nobody says welcome without saying welcome.
I know, and if you do, you're just naturally the kind of person that says welcome all the time.
Exactly. And on that note,
welcome. What you got?
We have medium amount of things to talk about today.
Amounts.
But I am going to institute a new segment.
Yeah,
we're going to call it that. Where I'm going to talk about a favorite short story and a favorite classic, because sometimes I feel like there's a lot of stuff that I really, really love that we haven't talked about at all, because it's older or something I read 20 years ago. Yeah, but there's still people out there who might want to know about it.
I mean, I'm one of those people. I don't know.
Yeah,
I need to learn things.
Well, I'm not promising any education, but I will talk about some.
Reading is learning, Crystal.
Yes, especially the ones I'm going to talk about.
Excellent.
But first, I read a new thriller, and I think this is the first book by this author. It's called Falling by T.J. Newman, and I listened to it, actually, and it was a recommendation from a friend of mine who requested it for the library through Summer, who works here. And Summer also read it. Okay. And so the double recommendation hooked me.
Summer is a person I trust with recommendations.
Yes. She knows her business.
She has great taste. Books and movies and TV.
Yes. Always on it.
Yep.
And I go through periods where I like thrillers. And I really like to. In fact, I had a class in graduate school on the thriller genre. Cool. And so it's interesting to compare. Of course, there's different kinds of thrillers and all that kind of stuff. But there are patterns because it is a genre. Yeah. And so there are things that kind of happen over and over in these thrillers, especially in the structure. Yes. But I like to read them to kind of compare how the writers are making those structures unique, or making a twist on it, or how they're doing something that's different. So this book is about an airline pilot, and he's on a flight, I want to say cross country, California to New York, and there are 143 other passengers on board, or passengers, not other ones. It kind of starts right in the middle of the action and then goes back. Love it. Which, I like that too. Me too. It's the plane is page one. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's big drama, and then it goes back to the beginning. Cool. And so before the pilot has aborted the plane, his family, his wife and 2 kids, are kidnapped. Oh, man. And yes. And then as he's, in this plane, he's flying it, he finds out that in order to get his family back, to have his family freed, he has to crash the plane. Oh, no. With everybody on it, including himself. Goodness. And so it's that whole, Sophie's Choice kind of thing. Oh, my God, I know. Not exactly Sophie's Choice, but you know what I'm getting. But just that impossible choice.
Yes, both choices are terrible.
Right. And so it goes back and forth between, what's happening with the wife and the kids and what's happening with him. Oh, man. And then there's flight attendant who is, was a sassy character. And she has an FBI agent nephew. Oh. And so there's lots of different things, interconnected things going on. And it's as an audiobook, it was like 8 hours. And I went through it in a couple days.
Nice. So was it a good listen?
Yes.
Cool.
The narrator was Steven Weber, who's he actually played a pilot in a TV show back in the 90s.
So he could really get into character here.
But he did a really, really good job.
Great.
So, yeah, definitely recommend it.
I mean, I'm sitting here with, like, my chin in my hands leaning forward. So that's just the discussion we're having about the book. So
exactly.
I'm in.
And it's very touching. There's, of course, the dynamics of the family, but then there's also, like, what's going on with the people who are the terrorists or who are the ones who are doing this. Because it's also a unique take on that.
Sure.
And then that's all I'll say about that. So definite recommendation.
Yeah, okay.
And then another one, which is funny to me, and you'll probably understand why, is called The Lonely Hunter, How Our Search for Love is Broken. Yeah. I'm really not into that kind of thing, but this is by Amy Lutkin.
It's How Our Search for Love is Broken? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is an expansion of an article that was on Jezebel that says that article was called The Lonely Hunt. Let me start over. The Lonely Hunter, How the Stigmatization of Being Alone Keeps Us Searching Forever, and How to Embrace Solitude in a World Full of Couples.
Okay.
So, we've talked about the titles there.
That tells me what it's actually about.
Yes.
The actual title, I was... didn't know, where we were going necessarily.
And so she starts the book. It's like a memoir. It's very contemporary in that she's not just writing about something, she's writing about something that is pertaining to her.
Sure.
So it's got that like blend of it being a memoir kind of thing, a personal essay, but also looking at society and standards and that kind of stuff. So she's talking about how, and I have experienced this thing, which is why I thought it was funny. She's at a dinner party and it's like, pretty close friends that she knows. And somebody says, so they're all couples, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I've had that experience.
I was about to say, I know.
Sometimes it's great. Most of the time, it's great.
Yeah.
If you get in a group of people and they're like, this is what happens to her, when are you ever going to meet somebody and settle down? And
like, could you not?
Yeah. And she says, she's like really honest about it. She's like, I don't think that's going to happen for me. I think I kind of made a choice. I don't want to do that. And then she gives everybody's reactions to it.
Is it all head explosions?
Yes.
Or,
yes. Yeah. And I've had that experience too, not to give too much of my personal memoir away, but people in couples really want you to be in a couple. And I think it's just... there's the funny part of it that's where it's like, you just want me to be as miserable as you are. Right. Because I'm seeing this from the outside, and it's not all this cracked up.
You're not selling me on anything.
Exactly. I'm over here doing what I want to do,
I'm
what I want to do.
You will not believe what Nick said to me. And you're like, I am loving my life.
And nobody said anything to me. Yeah. No, you guys are super cute and
but
great.
Also I support your singleness. Like I have said that if Nick were to leave me, I don't think I would search for that. Like if that came into my life,
it really is a big negative thing, and I don't know that it's ever been great at any point in history.
Yeah.
Dating and that kind of stuff. But it's only been in the last century that there was any kind of not even a century, much less than that, where you actually had dating, that you were in charge of your own self.
Right, right.
As opposed to being matched up with somebody or whatever. So, it's fraught with all kinds of things. But then people will just be like, oh, how can you say that? why would you don't be so down on yourself. It's like, no,
I'm not being down on myself.
I'm making a positive choice for myself. Anyway, so it's funny that in that sense, and she's not necessarily funny so much as she's really exploring this, like, no, leave me alone.
Yes.
Quit giving me a hard time about this.
I just support it. I think that's such a silly...
Yeah, and I think that people who are going to read that are going to be people who have made that decision already. But I think that the audience should be the other people.
Yeah.
Like, maybe think about why maybe this is unique in some sense. Maybe that's not as common as the alternative.
Yeah.
But there are reasons, and it's perfectly acceptable.
Valid reasons.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Love it.
Not to get too...
The title is a lot, but I do like the topic.
Yes. And I think that, like, the lonely hunter, obviously, is an ironic kind of yeah. Right. Nobody is lonely, and nobody's hunting.
Crystal the lonely hunter over here. Yeah, right.
Neither one of those.
Exactly.
I got more stuff to do than I can handle. I'm not lonely. Yeah, and I'm content.
That's hilarious, yeah.
So, to take a bit of a diversion here, the next book that I want to talk about, it comes out in November, and it's The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. And she's a National Book Award, Pulitzer Prize winner. She wrote The Roundhouse and several other very, highly acclaimed novels. And this book is a ghost story, but kind of a quirk on it. And so I don't want to give too much away. I'm just going to kind of give like a little synopsis of like how it starts.
Okay.
So it's set in Minneapolis. It's set in the time when things are very inflamed there. And it goes from All Saints Day, which is in November, in 2019 to November 2020. And there's a ghost haunting a small bookstore. And so the person who's working in the bookstore has just gotten out of prison. And so there's the sentence of that, and then there's the sentence of this ghost that's having to haunt this bookstore. So it is a really unique kind of story.
Yeah.
And she tells everything beautifully. And then, of course, there's all of the things that are going on around in that area at that time.
Wow, what a combination of stories.
I know, it's a lot.
I like it. Yeah. No, that's interesting.
And then another one, this is actually not coming out until January. So I'm going to have to like get back in my stuff that's coming out right now, because everybody's going to be like, I can't get this until January. Why are you talking about it now? But
mark your calendars.
Yes. This next one is called To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara. I think
well done.
You'll say that. Who also wrote A Little Life a couple of years ago. It was super popular. And this is told in 3 different eras.
Okay.
And the first one is an alternative history of New York in 1893, but there's it's an alternative version of that, so it's ahistorical. It's not yeah. And then there's 1993 Manhattan during the AIDS epidemic, and then there's 2093, and it's like a post-apocalyptic kind of dystopian world that's governed by totalitarians. And anyway,
is the 1893 story you said is alternate universe history?
It all is kind of like an alternate.
But the same with the 1993, like it's is it
they're
all
just
the same
centuries.
world?
Oh, I don't know.
Or
you might.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You can.
Yeah. Sometimes I overshare, and then the other times I don't give enough details.
I don't know.
You'll have to see. I do want you to read it. Anyway, and so it deals with a lot. So first of all, there's a lot going on just in having those 3 different eras. But it's it deals with all the emotions that humans have and all that kind of stuff. So I recommend it.
Cool.
And so then I want to talk about my my new segment.
Yeah.
Where we're going to talk about.
We need to do a little like doo 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 doo.
There you go. That's it. You're going to have to do that every time.
Dang it.
So I want to talk about a favorite short story.
Okay.
Start with that. And I don't even remember. I keep my running list of things that I'm thinking about or reading, whatever. And I wrote this down. I don't remember why. And so I thought, hey, maybe I'll just talk about it because it's a good short story.
Maybe that was the reason why.
Yeah. And it's by Joyce Carol Oates. I want to say it was published in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And it's called Where Are You Going? Where Have You Been? Mm-hmm. And it was one of the first, I don't know if I could say first short stories, but I was very young teen when I read it.
Okay.
And hadn't really got into the world of short stories at that point. And it really made an impact on me. It's crazy. So it's about this young girl who is at home by herself. And I want to say it's like in the 50s, 60s when it's set. And this man, a young man, and his friend drive up to the house and basically try to entice her to come out. And the young man is named Arnold Friend. Mm-hmm. And there's something off about him.
Ugh.
And it's very much like, talks about the coming of age of a young girl and how she starts to become aware of how men are reacting to her.
Sure.
And so she's very naive, but she's also, there's something about him that
still can't put her finger on the thing that's off.
But he kind of says all the right things.
Right.
And it's really it's only probably 20 pages, but it makes an impact. And Arnold Friend is not
a friend.
Is not a friend. In fact, he doesn't. There's illusions, and that was, I think, as a young person, really made me excited about literature. Is that there's little things that you would only begin to notice when you start analyzing literature. Like, I'll give an example because it's not going to give too much away.
Sure.
But he's wearing boots, like cowboy boots, and then it talks about his boots all the time, and then it talks about how one of his boots is at an odd angle, and so it's this
how
illusion.
He stands, or is it not clear?
It's turned around at an angle that a human foot wouldn't be able to do.
I don't like that.
And so it's this illusion that maybe he's got cloven hooves underneath his boots. Because there's other little things like that.
Oh, wow.
And so it's just a really good short story. I forgot how much I love short stories because you can get right into this whole world.
Totally.
And they're so rich and so evocative.
Pack it all in.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So, where are you going? Where have you been?
Well, because I know that title, and I was like, oh, maybe once she starts talking about it, I'll realize I've read it or something.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. And
it's anthologized a lot.
Haven't. Okay.
You probably
just
heard lots of literature.
Heard it referenced or something.
Yeah.
But I want to read it.
I want to say there was even a short film. I may be lying about that, but I want to say that there was a short film version of it.
Really? Okay.
It's very cinematic in the way that it's written.
Yeah.
Because there's kind of that genre of film where it's like the young girl and then like the greaser boys.
Yeah, totally.
And,
no, I felt like I could immediately picture what you were talking about. And just that, without even knowing what you meant by something was off about him, it still just makes my stomach clench.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Well, obviously that's still a huge issue that women,
just especially being a teenager and
being naive and not knowing.
And learning to listen to yourself or having the confidence to listen to yourself. I don't know.
Yeah. And then there's her referring to her mother and how there's a problematic relationship there, and the mother's trying to keep her young and innocent and all that. And so that makes her kind of want to, even though she feels she feels that there's something off, that like makes her want
to rebel a little bit.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorite short stories. And then one of my favorite sort of classic, and when I say classic, I just mean older. I'm not talking about the classics.
Yeah.
But it's a book by Vladimir Nabokov called Pale Fire. And it is very meta, like postmodern kind of book, because it's the setup is there's like an intro, and then there's this like epic poem, and then there's all of these like footnotes and commentary. And this poet named John Slade has passed away, ostensibly. The things become questionable about that, but he's passed away, and he's left this epic poem behind that's kind of unfinished. And so his editor, named Charles Kinbote, is writing this introduction and then this commentary on this poem.
Okay.
And then he, tells the reader, like, here's the order that you need to do this in. You need to read this intro first and do this. But then it just goes bonkers, because he's talking about this. You don't know if he's really who he says he is. And he makes the whole thing about himself in a way. So it's not like, it's all his commentary is like referring to things that he's trying to inject into this. And it is just amazingly crafted. And
nice.
It sounds tedious, because it's like, okay, so it's like a very dry, like academic thing.
Well, and maybe it could be, but it sounds like
but it goes
that's
wild.
The beauty of
yes
of this, yeah.
Yeah, because it takes you places that you're not expecting.
Cool.
Because he's talking about this like imaginary kingdom, and he may be the king, and
oh my,
yeah. So it is suspenseful, because you don't, you just don't know.
You're
exactly
trying to figure it out. Yeah.
And your only sort of introduction into that world is this really unreliable narrator who you don't know what or who he is or why he's doing it. And
I like it.
Yeah, very, very good. One of the best novels ever written.
Cool.
I would say.
Yeah. Period.
And so those are the books that I want to talk about, or the literature that I want to talk about. And I do have a few little shows that I'm interested in right now. A few little shows and a podcast, too.
Cool.
So I did not think that I was going to be interested in this show. I may have mentioned it before, but I've watched 2 seasons of it now.
Okay.
And it's on Apple TV. It's called Ted Lasso. And Jason Sudeikis plays the titular character. And it's about British football, English football, soccer. And I was like, no, I don't need. I'm not interested.
No, because I remember talking about Summer, shout out again. She said months ago, she and her husband had started watching it. She was like, it's hilarious. It's a great show. And I knew nothing about it. You brought it up again recently, but I still didn't realize what it was about until Nick told me what it was about within the last week or so, and I had no idea. Anyway.
Well, and because I had heard people talking about it, and I had just gotten Apple Plus so that I could watch the other show I had talked about previously, For All Mankind. And then my friend Jocelyn said... In fact, she said that she sent me a message after listening to our last podcast, and she was like, "Oh, have you watched this show, Ted Lasso?"
Nice.
So shout out to Jocelyn. She's probably listening. Hi, we miss you. We love you. And but I was like, okay, enough people are telling me. Jocelyn tells me that I'm gonna try it.
Sure.
And I was hooked into it right from the beginning, and it is very quirky.
Yeah.
And you don't really know, like. I had mentioned it to somebody else or described it to somebody else as almost Ted Lasso is almost like Forrest Gump. Because he is really positive but he's not mentally challenged.
Sure, but just
but he's just almost like
similar
over the
outlook.
top, over the top, optimistic, positive, and it's kind of you kind of are trying to figure out like what's his deal, what's going on here, when is this going to crack,
what's the catch?
Yeah, exactly. And so it's very different but heartwarming.
Yeah.
And it's funny.
Yeah.
And there's, real teen issues.
No, hashtag real teen issues.
No,
we love some real teen issues.
There's just, like actual, personal interactions and it's real. It's not just like a silly slapstick kind of thing. Right. And that's what kind of takes it beyond that, like, Forrest Gump kind of territory.
Right, I see.
It's not as broad as that.
Okay.
But it is, like, this football coach, American football coach, who gets recruited to go to England and coach one of their premier soccer league, football league teams. And so everybody, rejects him at first. They're like,
why?
What is it? Why are you doing this? And
right.
So, and then the owner of the team is the wife of the owner of the team, but they've divorced, and she ends up owning the team.
Oh, okay.
And so she's the one who has brought him
Makes this decision. Okay.
And I won't go into more because there is a whole story there.
Well, and I know Jason Sudeikis won, was it a Golden Globe for his performance?
A lot of,
Because he won and was clearly not expecting to win because he was wearing like a sweatshirt, like it was via Zoom, and he was wearing like a sweatshirt, and his whole speech was just like totally broken, and he just was not expecting it all. Yeah.
I didn't see that, but yeah. No, it is like TV is so different now.
Yeah.
You just never know where you're going to find the gems, you know? But I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I need to.
It's in the 3rd season now, and yes, so go watch it.
I will.
And then pretty sure I've mentioned it before, but I actually finally got to watch the first 3 episodes of Y, The Last Man. It's like the letter Y. Uh-huh. It's based on a series of graphic novels by Brian K. Vaughan, and it's on Hulu.
I've not heard of this.
It's so good.
Yeah?
I mean, I think that the show's going to be really good. But the first 3 episodes, I'm into it.
Great. Okay, cool.
But the setup is that the main character's name is Yorick. Mm-hmm. So his parents were, like, Shakespearean fans. Mm-hmm. Has a sister named Hero. Mm. And his mother is a senator, or highfalutin, I think she's a senator. And just one day, out of the blue, or pretty quickly, in rapid succession, everything male on the planet dies. All the men, all the male animals, only females left.
Oh, God.
Except for Yorick and his capuchin monkey.
Who is also a male?
Also a male. And so he then turns into, like, of course, planes fall out of the sky. All this, catastrophe happens because literally half the population
running everything. I'm just kidding.
Right. What are they going to do now? And so really rapidly, so the president was a man. He dies, and then all the succession is no longer there. So Yorick's mother ends up as the president.
What?
And then there's a character, Agent 355, who works for the president and goes looking for her daughter and finds Yorick.
Okay.
So anyway, and so then it turns into, what are they going to do with him?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
For real. Also, poor Yorick.
Poor Yorick.
What a stressful situation
Alas,
to be.
poor Yorick.
And the monkey too, frankly. I mean,
that's rough life out there. Yeah. I mean, And so you can, I think, wherever your imagination might take you about what would happen with the last man on Earth.
Yeah.
It goes there.
Oh my goodness.
All kinds of stuff happened. So and it was, I can't remember how many like comics it was, but that was then finally released as like a collection of 10 books. And I had it probably, must have been 15 years ago.
Cool.
When it came out. And so I was like, it's been talked about that it was going to be a movie.
Yeah.
It's been like in production
for a while.
years and years.
And you're like, finally.
And finally it comes out. And the actors are great, and it's just, it's done really well.
I'm excited for you just for that alone. That it turned out so far. 3 episodes in. And if the rest are bad, you've got 3 episodes. So.
Yeah, exactly. I'm good with that. But I do really want to see how they're going to do it.
Cool. I'm in.
And then I watched a documentary my brother suggested that I watch, because I have always been a big Val Kilmer fan. And, he's going through a rough time right now. He had throat cancer, so he no longer can speak, or he has to speak through a tracheotomy, I guess.
Yeah.
And so on Amazon, there's a documentary of mostly footage that he himself filmed over his life, because he was like real early adopter of the camcorder.
Yeah.
Like in the early 80s, he had one, and people would see it and be like,
what's that?
What does that thing do?
Let me talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So he has, footage from Top Gun to all of the things that he was doing.
Cool.
And it kind of goes through his life, and it actually was really interesting.
Nice.
And I was a little worried about it. I was like, oh, is this going to be like, is he going to be weird? And
is this going to ruin my perception of Val?
But no.
That's good.
No. He's actually, he's a unique guy, but
sure.
Very interesting. And then the last thing I want to mention is a podcast that I just started called You're Wrong About. And that's just great right there. And it's Sarah Marshall, and I can't remember, there's Sarah Marshall and then a man who is like plays off of her. But and he has another he has how everybody has like 20 podcasts. Yes. So I listened to must have been last year's Halloween special. And she talks about there's a subreddit called Creepy Encounters, and she's kind of fascinated with it because it's not like supernatural necessarily. It's just like this, like people saying something creepy happened to me, and here it is, and like
no explanation.
Yeah.
I can't.
A lot of it is like somebody was following me, and then I had to get away. And a lot of it's like stuff left up in the air because nothing came of it,
right?
But she does talk about a few specific instances, and she's also writing a book on the Satanic Panic of the 80s. And so she's kind of fascinated by these cultural things that seem to, like, people like ride these waves of, people get like this ridiculous panic about there's Satan worshipers everywhere. And then everybody has a story about how they were almost abducted by Satan worshipers. And I remember seeing some video, I can't remember if it was school or church, where they're like, my specific county was the satanic worship capital of the world. And I'm pretty sure
that's just unlucky.
I mean, it's a small county too. They must have been like most of the population.
Right.
And so it was just, it's a phenomenon that people have remarked upon since then.
Yeah.
So it's that's fascinating in and of itself.
Yeah.
But then she talks about this one account that was, it starts off like the title, like in Reddit, it's got like these little titles of the threads for the posters, start off with. And it starts off with, I think my dog has a stalker. Which sounds funny and maybe cute. Yeah, exactly.
I'm stalking Pocket.
Exactly. But, so it kind of starts slowly. She has this big dog that's like real noticeable, and she takes the dog to the dog park. And then somebody leaves like a toy at her front door. And then, and it's like long time periods between when these things happen for a
Right.
while, but it kind of starts to ramp up. And then there's like a big bag of food left there. And then there's treats. And she's like, okay, I'm not going to give this stuff to my dog. This
Yeah,
seems weird.
no.
Maybe it's poison. Who knows?
Yeah.
And she ends up, I can't remember, she moves in part of this, so I can't remember where all the details go. But she moves like 50 minutes away, and then the things continue to happen.
No, ma'am.
So she's calling the police, she's calling the apartments where she lived before, and she installs these cameras
That's what I was
like
about to
all
ask.
around her house, and she doesn't catch anything, but there's like a suspicious video where it's like those motion activated cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So when the motion is activated, the camera has a little light.
Yeah.
And so she's looking at these recordings, and she sees like what looks like somebody like moving their hand really quickly to see if it's lighting up this motion activated camera. And so she, freaks out.
Oh, no.
Yes. So it turns into this whole saga over months and months and months. And she ends up like having to get cameras across the street at her neighbors because she's never catching anybody. But then she sees this, she's on a cul-de-sac. So she's like, there's no turnaround or whatever.
Right.
And this beat up old truck comes through, and she recognizes the truck as belonging to the maintenance man at her previous place. And so she goes to the police and tells them, hey, this guy is 50 minutes away from where I was before.
Yeah.
This weird stuff is happening. And then they're like, well, we don't have any real evidence.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And so it is this like real
Can you imagine
life.
hearing that story and being like, that doesn't mean anything?
No. But I mean, I think eventually like follow up and try to find out like what's up with this guy.
Yeah.
But things like escalate and I don't know about you. Actually, I do.
You
would be like me.
With this stuff, yes.
Yeah. We would be at like full tension all the time.
Yep.
You wouldn't be able to sleep. You
Oh my
wouldn't
God.
be able to go in and out of your house.
And noise outside.
Yeah. And so it turns into like this really interesting story.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I even went to, after I listened to the podcast, I went to Reddit to like
Yeah.
read the actual
Yeah.
what was going on with her, because it was going in real time. So like people are responding to her and being like, have you done this? Have you done that? And she's like,
wow, yeah.
yeah,
Here's
but this
what
is
happened. Yeah.
And there's like updates, And so anyway,
Goodness.
yeah.
How
And
vicious is that dog? Let me.
Exactly. You need to be working on that.
Right.
Yeah, come on, buddy, attack.
Sick.
Yeah, exactly. So I like my creepy stuff, and so that one was. At first, I thought, oh, okay, because there's most satanic panic. I think that's not creepy,
Right.
And all this other like, every other person thinks that they're gonna be human trafficked now. Like
yes.
Sure, they think. I'm not saying that things
that
don't happen.
legitimately, yeah.
And I'm
those
not
are-
saying that things didn't happen that would incite a satanic panic,
Definitely,
but
sure.
it is so prevalent.
But
that
have
it's
you
not even
ever
possible.
heard of a dog stalker?
No, that one got me, and because it's actually like the guy, I think, just ends up the stalker. Just says that he's moved away. Like the police do talk to him, and he's like, well, my mother died and left me a house in another state. I'm going to go live there. And then all the people on Reddit were like, don't believe him, girl.
Yes, what? Of course, that's the first thing you would say.
Right, yeah, oh yeah, no, I'm not around
I'm
anymore.
moving out of state. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Sounds like something a stalker would say.
Exactly. And so that's where it's left. So it's not even like
Yeah,
completely resolved,
Yeah.
Anyway.
He's
So-
not locked up or...
I haven't been on Reddit much in the
Yeah.
past couple of years, but I
Yeah.
did
That place
spend
is
some
crazy.
time.
Yeah.
I spent some time, went down many rabbit holes.
Yeah. It's easy
Um,
to do.
It is.
Anytime I open it for anything, like something like that.
Yeah. Then
cut
you start
to,
find another one.
3 o'clock in the morning, and
You're sitting up biting your nails.
yeah, and I believe in conspiracy theories, and
You've got the corkboard on the wall,
exactly.
triangulating the location of this guy. Anyway, well, that was my fun thing for the week.
That's pretty
Or
nuts.
fun for me, but not so fun for that poor
Oh my gosh, yeah.
girl and her
Rooting
dog.
for her for real.
Yes. So tomorrow we have Art Fest
Yeah.
downtown, so we're getting ready for that and looking forward to it. And then kicking off the big read the following weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So we're about to be shot out of a cannon. Is basically what it feels like.
Wow, that's
It's happening.
exactly it. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it feels like.
And then sometime mid-November, we're going to resurface.
Yeah.
And
you're like,
you're
what?
What just happened?
What year is it?
Today, I was at the circulation desk, and I just, automatically said, have a good weekend. And for, a full 5 seconds, I was like,
Wait.
is it the weekend?
Was
Is
that
it-
appropriate to say?
Is it Monday? And I just, literally had no clue.
I'm going to start saying that on Monday to people.
And they'll be like,
Have a
oh,
good weekend. Turn away. Naturally, yeah.
we should try that, see how many people correct you. Or,
Okay.
I bet that people would.
Yeah.
And
And I'm
no.
like, no, I meant that. Even
still
though it's
want you to-
5 days away, I hope you have a good weekend.
I hope you have a good one.
I don't care how your week goes.
We all know it's going to be terrible, but there is the weekend to
But
look
there's a
forward
chance
to.
that the weekend will go well, so I hope it does. You're like, what a pessimistic woman.
Right, exactly. I mean, you're still wishing them well
Yeah.
for part of the week.
Yeah.
So on that
Thank
note,
you.
have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend or whatever it
Or
is.
whatever it is.
Bye, guys.
Bye.